Today's episode of the Bill Simmons Podcast brought to you by SeatGeek. That's our presenting sponsor, the easiest way to shop for the best tickets, thanks to their revolutionary grading system. Chris Ryan, have you bought Dodger tickets on SeatGeek yet?
I have.
My listeners get $10 off baseball tickets the first time they use SeatGeek, which makes both of us ineligible. Use promo code BSMLB. Download the SeatGeek app today. Go right to SeatGeek.com. Get $10 off your baseball tickets. We're also brought to you by Hotel Tonight, an app that helps you find amazing hotel deals at the last minute, up to 7 days in advance. Perfect for a spontaneous getaway or indulging in a little staycation. You just use this for Summer League.
For my Fultz getaway.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see Markel.
Ringer Summer League thing. You use Hotel Tonight. They were very gracious. Found us a nice room, a nice casino.
I love all of Steve Wynn's hotels.
Hotel Tonight. Score a great price, great place to stay. Get in on these killer last minute deals. Download the Hotel Tonight app right now. And we are brought to you by House of Carbs, our new food podcast, which I just listened to on the way up here. Joe House, finally. Food podcast.
Did it make you hungry?
It did, actually, when he started talking about the caprese salad. So his first one, he had Bon Appetit's Adam Rappaport. He had Julia Littman, who's going to be on every week with food news, and then Danny Chow talking about hot chicken. But a very good debut. I was very pleased. I told him the one thing I really want is a recommendation of the week. It can be anything. It could be like a milkshake. It could be a cheeseburger. It could be fried. Just something. The House. So we got to get that sponsored.
House recommendations. I like it.
And go to theringer.com. That's where we've been writing about all this NBA stuff over and over again. We had all these Gordon Hayward pieces ready.
Yeah.
How many Gordon Hayward pieces did we write? Like 100?
Well, we ran 4 because we had a bunch ready, and then he started screwing around.
And then we had to write more.
We had to write the "What's Gordon Hayward Doing" piece. So
yeah.
We have like 3 or 4.
All right, we're going to talk about that in a second with executive editor of The Ringer, Chris Ryan. But first, here's Pearl Jam. All right, it is Wednesday, 9:40 a.m. Pacific Coast time. Day after July 4th. I had 2 hot dogs yesterday. I don't feel good. I had a whole bunch of stuff that's not good for me. And the Gordon Hayward saga was not good for me either. It kind of ruined my July 4th. I'm glad it worked out, but just pick your team, Gordon Hayward.
Yeah.
Don't hold us hostage on an Independence Day.
A lot of like, oh, it's not fair that he has only 3 days to it's like he's had a long time to think about this.
He's had his whole life to think about it. How hard is it to ultimately decide? I don't mean to bitch about my new all-star small forward, but I don't know what took so long. Just pick your team.
Yeah, it did seem really strange. Also, you have to wonder whether or not it's coordinated with like the announcement they want to do this rollout. And then there was just obviously he had probably made his decision, but hadn't told the other teams personally, and it started leaking.
Yeah.
And then they tried to maybe rattle like some cages by being like, oh, we got to regroup.
Right. What are you regrouping?
Yeah. I don't mean to hold people to deadlines. I guess we have to do that all the time when with writing and stuff like that. But it would be very helpful for the personal lives of everybody out there who covers basketball if we could have a little bit more regimentation to this.
Yeah. Now it's just media guys complaining about stuff. But
sorry, yeah.
With that said, it's ridiculous. These are the most important 100 hours of the offseason, basically, other than the draft. And just by a fluke of the calendar, it's happening during these 4 and 5 day weekends every year in July when everybody's away, when a lot of people don't have access to the internet. You know, we can see it like with our traffic and with podcast traffic, stuff like that. It's probably like about down 20% just because people are away.
Yeah.
People they're not in front of their desk. Or
Paul George getting traded on a Friday night versus the Markel Fultz deal a couple weeks ago. There's a huge difference.
On a Monday, yeah. It was like a 48-hour frenzy.
Yeah, they're really participating in the conversation versus on their way to start a really long weekend. So it just, what I'm mostly curious about is that in this day and age, you'd think that almost anything that could be eventized and made into a money-making venture by a sports league would be, right? If they could eventize like a guy getting his ankle wrapped, they would. So why not make this where the best players in the league now every summer change teams? And it's going to keep happening because these guys keep signing 2-year deals, 3-year deals.
So everything's shorter.
So can we have like a free agency night? Can we have a free agency telethon? Like what?
Well, that was basically Friday night, right? And my family was away, and I was home, and I didn't intend to watch basketball all night, but the Paul George thing happened a good 8 hours before or maybe it was like 6 hours before the July 1st thing. ESPN had this whole deadline midnight show ready to go. And they were on for 2 hours. Van Pelt had his Sports Center at midnight, but then on ESPN2, The Jump, they're ready to go. 3 things happen before those shows, and you go to ESPN, ESPN2. I just want to watch people talk about what happened with Paul George.
Yeah.
There's this 3-hour window where it's like, I just want to read everything. I want to go on TV. I want to watch. I just want to watch people with heads talk about Paul George. I don't care who those heads are. I want to see hands flailing. And there was nothing. It was like boxing was on ESPN2. Soccer, some MLS game was on ESPN1. NBA TV had like it wasn't the B crew or the C crew or the D crew. I think they were just throwing suits on people who were in the studio and just throwing them on TV.
Yeah.
And there was no discourse. And it's like, this is just a waste. If you designated June 27th, if you change the schedule so the finals end like June 10th, June 11th, the draft's June 17th, June 18th, and then that first day, free agency frenzy starts June 27th. And it's like, this is a day. ESPN, clear it out, clear the decks. You guys are on for 6, 7 straight hours. It would be like the first
weekend of March Madness.
It would be
incredible. Yeah.
Like, who's going where? Well, Paul George? What? And it just feels like they're missing the window. So hopefully they'll fix that. So let's go in order. Let's talk about Hayward first.
I can't wait. Talk about the Celtics.
Yeah, you're a Sixers fan. I'm a Celtics fan. Well, let's talk first about, this seemed like this was the destiny of how this was going to play out for months and months and months because of the Brad Stevens connection. Yeah. And near the tail end, there was some Utah.
No, tail end, it was all Miami. All weekend, it was all Miami.
But then it turned out Miami was ruled out the night before.
Right. But days leading up to Tuesday, Monday, I felt like there was a lot of Miami noise that Riley did the dump the rings, that that South Beach was really putting the zap on his head. He was really into it.
I'm out on Riley. Riley lost LeBron, couldn't get Durant. I think the magic's gone. And he's just a 71-year-old guy who can't get guys anymore.
Yeah,
he's
sure.
So Hayward, let's do the pie chart. 50% Brad Stevens, I'm going to say 25% Celtics tradition, fact that they're a contender already, and 25% Eastern Conference. And
you think that came into play because he was like, if I stay in Utah,
I'm going to say pro-con list. It's like, I'm in Utah. What's my team?
Who's got worse blue laws, Salt Lake City or Boston?
Probably Salt Lake City. But he's probably looking at it like, I played in this playoff series against the Warriors and we got waxed. And we played pretty well and we lost every game.
Yeah.
It's not even like we can't say, oh man, if we had done this, that. It's like, no, we gave them our best shot. Game 3, we played as well as we could possibly play. We lost by 10. And at this point, so I'm going to be here. I'm never going to be one of the best 4 forwards in the West. I'm never going to be on one of the best 4 teams in the West. I'm going to go this way.
And I think not making All NBA might have had something to do with that. Just because he's probably thinking to himself, like, if I play in a market where more people are watching me on national television, it just increases the mind share I have on the NBA media and on the NBA fans. Like, it's just going to increase tenfold. That being said, I actually, after it all shook out and Danny didn't get what he got, and I don't know that Boston's that much better than Utah in terms of being a team. It's a better conference to be in for sure, and it'll be a better conference for the years to come.
I think they're a better team and more assets.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
I think they have a lot of assets. What's he going to do with them?
7-game series, you just remove Hayward from the series. Who wins that series?
Remove Hayward from the series and go
Boston
Bear.
versus Utah. Everyone's healthy. Hayward's not on either team.
Boston will probably win, but in 2 years, Boston's going to have to make all these decisions about their great backcourt. All these guys who have been sort of keeping the team propped up for a couple of years, like Avery, Smart, and Isaiah.
Yeah.
And this could be the team. I mean, I know that everybody's always like the assets, and he's going to have to get rid of some of them sooner or later. You can't just keep drafting small forwards. But
I see, this was the summer they had to get somebody. I think now it's fine because now next year you pay Isaiah 30, 32, whatever, but you can go over they're basically in the same spot the Warriors were in this year with Durant.
We were talking about Jimmy Butler, Paul George with Hayward. That was always the thing, was this 2 stars. And they kind of let the message get a little out of control. It's like you have Wick out there being like, we need 2 stars, and I know that they
shouldn't say that.
Yeah, but now it's like you can't help but judge Boston's last 3 months as a failure. because they had the number.
You sound like my dad.
What if they had drafted Fultz and you have the number 1 draft pick? And I know that you think Markelle Fultz have Jeff Green body language. I love it. Was like,
it's very detached.
Yeah, right. He's really detached. And Tatum's just
Ricky.
a monster. I know.
Tatum,
one of the great competitors.
Tatum integrates with his teammates.
He's basically
That's what I
Brian
like.
Urlacher in a
That's
small
what I
forward.
like. Hey, he's very, very good on chemistry.
Sure. But I just think if you draft Fultz and then you have this number 1 pick, point guard of the future, and you bring in Hayward, there's a different feeling of we chipped down to get this guy who is sort of in the same positional area as Jaylen Brown and Gordon Hayward, and we're holding on to picks and we're just sort of keeping. And now it's starting again. It's starting again with Marc Gasol today. Chris Mannix reporting that they're going after Gasol, and it's like, okay, great. Chris Mannix said that Boston was going to go after Marc Gasol for a trade.
Really?
Yeah.
I think they screwed up the Paul George thing.
Yes.
My take on the Paul George thing is they had really heavy talks with them at the draft. They came close. Indy said, we want to wait. Boston said, cool. If we're going to wait till after the thing, let us sign Hayward first, and then we'll come back. Pritchard's like, great. And then I think they made the mistake of just not checking in every 6 hours with them.
I think the flip
it's like
side
if you're
of that,
buying a house, you check in with the realtor hey, nobody made an offer on the house, right? We're good, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they did that. I think they fell asleep. And then all of a sudden Pritchard did this crazy trade.
This was another thing that Boston didn't control the message very well about, which is this mysterious sequence of events that needed to happen so that they could get these 2 stars.
Why are they in charge of the sequence? Indy has Paul George. This is what drove me crazy about this. Indy's in the driver's seat, not Boston.
Right. But they're like, you got to wait for...
Yeah.
And if that was the case, like, and if that was the case, they should have gotten a firm agreement and said, hey, Friday night, midnight, Gordon's signing with us.
Well, they weren't the only team that, I was in touch with a lot of teams after that. Mm-hmm. And everybody, and this is confirmed by all the other reporters who talked to everybody too, everybody was stunned. Everybody found out about that trade on Twitter. Pritchard never circled back last minute and said, George is going. I need your best offer right now. He just made the trade.
Right.
Which, put this way, I judge everything in real sports by what happens if somebody does it in fantasy. First of all, in fantasy, if somebody makes that trade, people go crazy.
Right.
If we're in a fantasy keeper league and somebody's like, I just traded Paul George for Oladipo and Sabonis, like there's 100 email thread about what a dick this guy is. Get out of the league. Like, it gets really personal. You bring up the time he shit on himself in college. Like, it gets really ugly.
See, the thing that I think I hate fantasy, but I think it's a lot like a fantasy trade because there's really not tanking in fantasy. And I think that's what people were really confused about is if Pritchard has this guy, why not get as many picks and young players as possible? And instead he gets like a 25-year-old Victor Oladipo who has probably hit a ceiling of some sort, and a Sabonis who was like okay last year, right? And is going to be okay.
I think he was worse than okay. By the end of the year, it was really interesting hearing people talk about him as this prospect. I liked him coming out of college. He didn't have a position, and he got worse as the year went along, and in the playoffs couldn't play.
Well, I don't think Russ and young players mesh because young players need
Russ
probably consistent touches, and as those games wind down, Sabonis either was benched or a ghost.
But I judge all this stuff by could you have played in the finals I just watched? I don't think he has a position. Somebody like Olynyk, who took a long time to kind of become somebody who could at least be the ninth man on a playoff team, and he's like basically a stretch five who can't rebound, can't really guard anybody, but if you play off him, he can either shoot threes or he can go into the lane and do the herky-jerky Kelly Olynyk stuff. Sabonis can't do that. He can't post up. He doesn't shoot free throws. I don't know what he is.
But
I think he's an 11th
mandate
man.
Or if what he wants is to stay around 40 wins at least.
That's ridiculous. Like, then they signed Darren Collison for $20 million for 2 years. That guy's a backup. You're paying a backup $10 million. I think he did a terrible job. Like, if I was a Pacer fan, I know they had to get rid of Paul George. I know he's leaving. I know he's going to play in LA in a year. Like, we all get it. OKC's renting him for a year. They have no chance at re-signing him. He's going to LA. Like, for the possibility of, if they do well, maybe he's not staying. He's going to LA. The whole league knows he's going to LA. So this almost seemed like part trying to trick Westbrook into thinking that they're a contender, and part just kind of throwing everyone off the scent for a year. That the destiny of this team, if they don't sign Westbrook to that Supermax, is that is now the worst situation in the league.
Right.
So now you get Patrick Patterson, which I thought was really smart. I like the OKC team.
Yeah.
I think in the West, in the East, that's a 3 seed.
Yeah.
And in the West, it's like a 7-8 seed. They're going to get annihilated in round 1, but at least it's something. But I think the Celtics screwed up because there was a way for them to get Paul George and Hayward and not give up Jaylen Brown or Tatum.
I think that the best case scenario for Oklahoma City is that they have a lot of fun this year.
Yeah,
win a lot of regular season games, like they click, and then
they
somehow convince those guys to sign 2-year deals or something.
It's not happening.
They're not going to sign 5 years. This is the best case scenario.
Right, that's their best case.
Yeah, and that you're like, hey, why go to the Lakers, who are basically rebuilding? Or, obviously their dream scenario is LeBron and George on the Lakers or whatever they've got planned. But Presti wants to be able to look and say, like, why would you go to the Lakers and start over when we're, this away from, we're a Kawhi knee tweak away from being the second best team in the West.
And Paul George says because LeBron's going there.
Yes.
And
yes.
Who's the other guy who would go there?
To the Lakers?
Yeah.
I mean,
who are the other 18 free agents?
Take your pick of like banana boat guys who would go play there.
Oh my God. It already makes me mad. I mean, the Celtics, that pick they got, when you look at how loaded the West is now, and they got this pick from Philly in the Fultz trade that is basically guaranteed to be between 2 and 5, or it rolls over this Kings pick. You can make a case that pick is going to be between 2 and 5. Like if you're going to bet your life on it one way or the other, I would bet my life 2 and 5 because Sacramento's much better. Minnesota's much better. Denver got Millsap. The Clippers, who could have just punted on everything, instead, we're going to talk about it, went the other way and doubled down on Blake and Gallinari. And now they might get $250 million.
They might get Derrick Rose, which is just going to be
just more injury guys.
Incredible for tendon surgeons in Los Angeles. But
you have a terrible training staff, a coach who doesn't really emphasize practice or anything, and then a bunch of injured guys. It's a disaster. But you go down the line in the West, it's like the Lakers are clearly the worst team in the West. Who is the second worst team? I don't even know. Phoenix?
Yeah, Phoenix. Phoenix is probably
worse. But I like
than
Phoenix's team.
I think Phoenix is worse than the Lakers.
I think if you just go player by player, like Lonzo, it's going to be early trying to figure it out. Lonzo,
Brooke, Randall, Ingram.
Oh, I forgot about Brooke. Yeah, that's pretty even. That'd be fun. So those are the two worst.
Yeah.
Booker might be 25 a game this year. Josh Jackson might be good right away.
Aren't those guys all 20 though? I mean, I think that just at the end of the day, those guys will probably run out of gas a little bit on the back.
So that's your bottom 2 in the West.
Yes.
After that, you move into this weird zone of teams that became much more competitive and have ideas for the 8 seed.
Well,
like
that's
Sacramento,
the other thing about
Denver.
the West is these teams like Utah and Oklahoma and New Orleans who don't have much depth, or maybe
Utah's
they should.
Another one.
Yeah, or maybe they should blow it up, but they're going to stick around. You know what I mean? And I think Utah will play bully ball and like make things really hard for teams. I don't know what's going to happen. The New Orleans is really the mystery to me. Like they could be. Is that a playoff team with 3 guys? They have 3 guys.
Well, and they just gave Holiday way too much money for somebody. To me, durability with free agents is the most underrated thing.
Yeah, that's what Danny tweeted that yesterday. I thought it was really smart.
It's
about
crazy.
The Teague versus George Hill durability thing.
George Hill's missed 80 games in the last 3 years, but you look at Gallinari, who has played more than 65 games twice in his whole career. You look at Blake Griffin, who's been hurt 8 different times, who's hurt now, who has something, a healing plate in his foot. On top of all the other surgeries he's had, they gave him $175 million for 5 years. And if you're wrong, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And that, and your team's in a little bit of this mix too, because that all this buzz now about they're ready to compete and brought the vets in. And it's like, I want to see Embiid play 50 games. Can I see 50?
Yeah. It's totally
fair.
Can I see
Ben
That's
Simmons
why
play
we traded
60?
for the number 1 pick. It's
Right.
it's not only is it building a team, it's insurance. It's like, yes, we might have like a Maury Ball Olajuwon who can shoot threes and defend the paint.
Maury Ball Olajuwon.
But we might also have like Damian Lillard who plays defense, which is great. You know what I mean? We might have like a foundational point guard. So if Embiid does wind up being a guy who is just battling injuries the rest of his career and never fulfills his potential, we're still in a good shape. We still have 2 other number 1 picks on the floor.
You have homeschooled Damian Lillard who plays defense. who's never had it. People are like, "Hey, Markel, have you ever watched this show?" I was like, "No, I've never seen anything." But I wasn't allowed to watch TV when I was a kid. He made 2 blocks in that summer league game, which was one of the most entertaining summer league games I've ever watched in my life.
Also, he's got the weird Chris Paul Harden change of pace already, where he like gets into the lane and throws his butt out, and then like has one guy on his arm, and he just does a little floater. I mean, I'm already in love.
Though, and I'm not ruling it out because I think he'll get older and stronger, but I don't think he has the 3-point range yet. I think he has it if his feet are set.
Yeah.
But you could see it, like if he's off balance, he almost can't even get it to the rim.
He'll
get there eventually.
Off-brand Chip England wizardry will get dropped on him.
This is why I love Brandon Roy in college and why I was convinced. I just couldn't believe when he went 6th that year, even though I guess his knees were probably the reason. But Fultz has that. He has 2 moves that are just going to be worth 20 points a game in the pros. The spin move that nobody has anymore except for like 3 guys, and he could just go in traffic, spin, and he's already at the rim. And then that little, it's like this, he's like carrying it for a second.
I believe that Kevin Durant called it a Hezzy Jimbo.
Yeah, the Hezzy Jimbo.
I don't know if that's what he was talking about, but yeah.
That little crossover he has is unstoppable. And then he's got the pull up. Like that guy's clearly a scorer. I love Tatum. I think Tatum's Paul Pierce. I think everybody wins. I don't think there's going to be any regrets or like, oh my God, we shouldn't have done that. I think both sides are going to be happy.
Great. I'll see you in the Eastern Conference Finals. Okay. I'm sure everybody who's listening to this is like, please give us a break.
Did you know that you can listen to the Bill Simmons podcast and the Watch, your podcast with Andy Greenwald and others from the Ringer family on Spotify?
I love Spotify.
The streaming service that you know and love for music is fully loaded with podcasts. Find us in the podcast section within the Browse tab when you're using Spotify on mobile or just by searching for the Bill Simmons podcast. How long have you been a Spotify guy?
Years. And Andy and I just did a 4th of July barbecue playlist, which is still relevant.
Oh yeah, you put the playlists on every once in a while, right? How do we find those?
You can find them at the WatchPod Twitter or at like search the username Andy Greenwald or Chris Ryan 77.
How was the 4th of July? Was it better than the playlist I had going yesterday?
No, you had some classics. Can I tell you something that was nice about the playlist is that aside from your ardent respect for the DGC Rarities CD, which I love. Yeah. You had a couple of classics on there, but for some reason, like I was listening to Young Americans by Bowie and I was like, God damn it, David Bowie was really good at songwriting. Like it was like there was a part of that song that I had sort of forgotten because you always remember the beginning and not the sort of the last third. It's just really a nice little moment with Bowie.
He had like 12 songs. I feel like he's the lost guy from that decade.
Bowie?
Yeah.
Bowie's God. I think people really respect it.
No, for like Nephew Kyle's generation. Nephew Kyle.
For the
Bowie?
kids?
Dave Bowie? No? Yeah.
He's giving a thumbs up.
Yeah. I think he had so many good ones. I think he gets lost. Like I think the Stones have endured. I think the Beatles have endured. And some other ones, but
for the kids. Yeah.
For the millennials. Yeah. Anyway, click to follow us. Our new episodes for the Bill Simmons podcast to watch, any other Ringer podcast delivered right into your Spotify library. Head to spotify.com/podcast for more. That's spotify.com/podcast, or just search on the Browse tab in the podcast section. Anyway, quickly about Boston, because Boston has a really pivotal. No, there's nothing left, right? There's no big free agents left.
No.
Weirdly, the biggest piece right now is this Jay Crowder trade that they have to make. And now it's 10 o'clock on Wednesday. But they have to trade Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder has a phenomenal contract, $7 million a year. I think he's under contract for this year and the next 2. Mm-hmm. And when you look at what's happened with the salary cap, which we're going to talk about in a second, where the salary cap goes backwards, nobody's prepared for it. It's a luxury tax disaster. Nobody has money. People have to get rid of guys. They're paying teams with number 1 picks to get rid of things. And here's Jay Crowder, who's started for a 1 seed on the Eastern Conference, who's an overrated defender, but he's above average. But I think the perception is he's an all defense kind of defender. He's not. A good 3-point shooter when he's open. Plays really hard, durable, and is available now for $7 million. And it's a like for a team like Miami who struck out, they just add him in whatever trade as a starter that makes them better. Team like Utah makes them better. I think he'd help Milwaukee. Indiana, if they just wanted to continue their quest for 42 wins.
How impatient are you? Do you want to get involved in a Melo situation? Do you want to start putting together a package for Melo?
I think the Melo ship has sailed.
Okay. So then what? So would you
But
want?
they have to trade Crowder because they have to
I
fit
know.
the Hayward
So
contract. They have 24 hours.
That would make sense for him to be part of a Gasol deal if that's going to happen. Memphis, like, they didn't offer Jermichael Green. They got rid of Zach Randolph.
Memphis is doing what they should have done 2 years ago.
Well, but they still have 2 All-Stars. So this is sort of one of the big things it's kind of bothering me because I feel like it's punishing teams for doing a pretty good job. Like, you either have to win the lottery 5 times, like metaphorically and also literally, or you are bad. And if you have 2 great players, if you're New Orleans, if you're Washington, and you have great talent, but you just, because of the cap and because of the cap shrinkage, and it's like Washington's screwed for re-signing Otto Porter. That doesn't make any sense to me. You know, they have to hope that Kelly Oubre has like 3 more years.
I will only say the NBA has always worked like this. The cap has been in existence since 82.
Yeah.
And they've never really figured out how to make it fair for everybody. And right now the small market teams are in the worst shape they've ever been in because you can sign these long-term contracts now for $100 million that aren't long-term. They're 3 years.
Right.
And it's the risk on the players is so much less, but they're getting paid anyway. Whereas in the old days, the advantage would be here's 5 years and a lot of money. And now for these players, it's like, I can go here for 3 years, a lot of money, and then I have my free agency 3 years from now. I don't know how these small markets regroup. And this is the first summer where I really look at it and go, man, it would really suck to root for Utah or Indiana or Oklahoma City or any of these teams because these guys are going to leave.
Because the guillotine's hanging
Everyone's
over you.
smarter. Everyone's smarter about creating cap space for targeting guys. The tampering is out of control. The guys on teams are just going and openly recruiting people from other teams. And I think we're in a real danger zone with the small markets, which is exactly the opposite of what they're hoping for.
Right,
with
that's what
thing.
I'm saying is that so a team like Memphis is essentially being punished for having Gasol and Conley.
You could argue maybe we're at the point now where we have to start looking at, should Memphis have a basketball team?
No, they should have a basketball team. That's one of the best fan communities in the league.
I'm with you. I'm making the case if like there's probably 5 markets in the league that I would call small, right? Memphis, OKC, Charlotte, maybe. Maybe Charlotte's a little bigger than medium.
I think a lot of these places are
Indiana.
Yeah. New Orleans is not necessarily an NBA town.
Portland,
Orlando, or do people love it?
No, Orlando has the tax advantage.
Yeah.
But you could argue, like, should Memphis have a team and should Seattle not? Seattle would be
not where I would
big
start.
market team.
That's not where I would start.
Why wouldn't you start there?
Because I think that the people, like, if you watch Memphis during the playoffs and if you watch Memphis during the regular season, like
I'm not down.
No, I know.
Fans.
I know it's not a referendum on the fans, but there is a support system there for a team, and that yes. They shouldn't have given Chandler Parsons $94 million. Like, that is a problem.
Right.
But part of the issue is that because these guys are all being punished for for trying their best. And so that you've got like Boston sitting on like 3 number 1 picks and the Sixers sitting on all these picks. And it's just like, there's not an equal distribution of young talent throughout the league when when the lottery is the way it works. And
but those are 2 flukes though, because Boston has the Nets trade, which is.
But isn't that just the flip side of making a stupid Chandler Parsons signing? You know, I mean.
But that's the thing. If you're a small market, you can't screw up. Basically, that's what we've learned this decade.
That's what you can say. Yes,
the Chandler Parsons thing. You screw that up, you've ruined your cap, and now it's over.
Right,
and you have no way of regrouping other than to trade Gasol and Conley. I don't know. It's like Memphis is a great example, right? Great fan base. Love the team, super committed to it. They don't generate a ton of local revenue, like their local cable, all that stuff, sponsorships, suites, courtsides. They just don't make as much as a bigger market team. Their margin of error becomes, you can almost touch your fingers together, and they can't screw up. And what we're seeing now is like those 6 small markets with no margin of error. It's the bleakest thing we've seen in a long time. I think Cleveland is there too, the moment LeBron leaves.
Yeah.
I think there was one other team. Minnesota. Minnesota was 10 years of just complete bleakness. Now they have Towns, they got Wiggins, they got Butler. It's fine now, but maybe it's not fine in 2 years if Towns leaves, and I don't know how they fix this. I really don't, because I don't think there's any market that should lose their team, with the possible exception of New Orleans. I'm not positive why New Orleans has a basketball team. I think there was a lot of goodwill put into it.
Yeah.
But I'm not positive that they're a better solution than Seattle.
Right.
I think Seattle should have a team, and if you just start looking like who should not have a team, you'd probably start with New Orleans. Now, Memphis, if they have to trade Gasol and Conley and start over, we haven't seen any of these small markets in a situation yet during the secondary market era where it's a shit show, where it's like, our team sucks and you should get season tickets for us because 2 years from now we're going to be good. But everybody would look at that and go, nah, I'm good. I'm not going to get season tickets. So now what do you do?
So do you think part of the issue along with that is that this rule that was created for these max and supermax deals that were supposed to entice the talent on smaller markets to stay
Didn't work.
And so far nobody has actually taken the deal, right?
Because you can make so much money short term now, you don't need to. You can do 300-400 and like the Millsap contract.
So
3 for 90.
So what is that? Is that did the players pull a fast one, or is that? I mean, I don't think there should be a cap. I think these guys. I almost feel like it should be like soccer, where these guys can make as much money as they possibly can.
Now you're crossing off all these teams.
I guess so. But the
now
cap's not working.
Every small
the cap
market
is not
team.
working. If you can have DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis on the same team, and you have to like lock Drew Holiday into $130 million,
that's the
then
thing.
you're screwed, and that's not fair. It's not fair that the two best big men in the league basically are on the same team, and it should be amazing. You should want to watch New Orleans every night, but instead you're gonna have to watch the ghost of Ashik come out.
Right.
You know, and it's just, that's crazy.
That's a competitive disadvantage when New Orleans has the looming Anthony Davis might leave thing combined with the looming Boogie can leave in a year thing. And they have to give Drew Holiday $125 million when he can't stay in the court. And we were arguing about it in our NBA Slack. Is he a top 15 point guard or not?
They had no choice.
We settled around. He's 16, 17. He'll never be an all-star. He's a pretty mediocre 3-point shooter for that position. Doesn't get to the line.
I'm
Plays
higher on
65 games.
I
know.
Drew
Well, you
more,
watched him a while.
Yeah, and I also think that
good
like
defender.
6'4" point guards who know how to play the position and get a big man the ball is a huge deal. Having some kid who's only ever played like a season of college and AAU who doesn't know how to like pass to the post is not going to work for Davis.
Like what you're going to have with Fultz. Just really no idea.
He's not going to have to pass to the post. We have Maury Ball.
He's won 9 games in 3 years.
Let him beat run the post.
Fultz. I wonder. So here's the other thing, and if somebody has made this point, forgive me, but I haven't seen it yet. Are we headed toward, Donald Sterling for years and years was basically like, I'm being cheap with my team.
Yeah, use the team as an ATM.
Yeah. I'm in LA. I have prime beachfront real estate here, and that's good enough. And I'll just keep collecting your revenue checks. And the owners hated him. Mm-hmm. Never cared about making the team better. He was a tenant in the Lakers arena. Just didn't care. I wonder if we're going to head to a world now where 4 or 5 teams are going to look at this and go, you know what? I'll do salary floor. I'll do a version of the hanky plan. My team will stink. I'm not going to pay money, and I'm just going to rake in revenue sharing.
Okay, so
I'm going to make 50 to
Robert
60
Parra trades
million
away.
a year.
They trade away Conley and
Trade away Gasol
Gasol.
and Conley, and it's like you write off the Chandler Parsons contract. This is what Indiana should have done. They can, I guess, because I think there's the owner is one of those we got to compete every year guys.
Yeah.
But Indiana should have said, if you want Paul George, take Monte Ellis's contract with him. Our salary will be at the floor. We'll make $65 million,
and we're in the Michael Porter sweepstakes.
We're in the Michael Porter sweepstakes, and we'll rake in $60 million in revenue because the revenue sharing is so high right now. I think that's the destiny for some of these teams.
Well, that's going to be, if we're worried about what the NBA looks like now after this playoffs, or like just the sort of competitive balance, it's going to be pretty dark if like 10 teams are just like, this isn't even, not even
this
here
is
tonight.
You're a Premier League guy. This is the Premier League. This is
but in the Premier League uses the threat of relegation.
Right.
So, I mean, they don't want that. It's really hard to get back into the Premier League once you go down. There are teams that were in the Premier League 5 years ago that are falling out of the championship that are going into League One now. So that's those guys have to deal with the idea of basically going out of business. If Robert Parra doesn't have to worry about going out of business.
Our dream scenario would be if the G League, now it's called, became great enough that it could be its own version of relegation. And
Yeah, but the television deals and like deals these teams make with cities they would never allow that. You know,
that's why it's a dream scenario.
yeah. I mean,
there's
like
a cool version
20
of this. That'd be
teams
awesome.
in London. It's not the same thing. You know what I mean? Like there are teams in London who were in the Premier League and now aren't. You know, it's just the way it's geographically set up. It would never work.
If we had a 24-team league and then the bottom 6 were just in some other league,
yeah,
it'd be
you and I talked
incredible.
about this before. It would be great if there was like some sort of in-season parallel tournament so that there was like an incentive to see good basketball from teams that pretty much are out of it.
I would be so sad and bummed out if I rooted for one of these teams that is now clearly hopeless. And I have the major experience I've had with just losing a star to another team was Clemens when he left the Red Sox for the Blue Jays. And that wasn't a small market thing. That was more of a respect thing. And then he got in shape and it was so agonizing. And it made me so mad that like I can't imagine what a Utah fan feels about Gordon Hayward. It's like I watched Gordon Hayward for 7 years. I watched him develop. I'm talking as a Utah fan.
Yeah, sure.
I watched him develop into this awesome all-star forward and this efficient scorer. And it seemed like he could never get to that next level. And then last season he did. He was a legitimate go-to guy in a good team. And now he's gone.
Well, I think part of it is the way that it's hard to see outside of the bubble of like basketball Twitter and basketball media. But yeah, I think part of it is how we talk about basketball specifically, but pro sports in general, which is either it's titles or tanking. You're either like a title contender or you're tanking. And if it's anything in between, you're basically punching a card and like you're punching the clock because you're on this treadmill of mediocrity. And that's
what's weird is
that's actually not that if you're a Utah fan and you're a 5th seed and you get out of the first round and you lose to the eventual champions, you're kind of like, that was a fun season. I hope that we can advance farther. But that was like a good use of your time cheering for the Jazz. And it's like, I don't know that you're necessarily consumed with, man, are we stuck on the treadmill of mediocrity? Are we ever going to get out of the second round? We worry about that for guys like Chris Paul. We put that on them. But for fans, I think Wizards fans are heartbroken on a yearly basis, but would they take it all? Like, would they rather tank than have John Wall jump up on the scores table? That's like a great moment.
John Wall, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think that it's starting to permeate the way that teams are built. I think it's starting to permeate the way that players see themselves. And I think a guy like Paul George is like, I would rather be in a high profile situation with a lot of volatility like LA than just be a legend and have my number retired in Indiana and lose in the Eastern Conference semis every year.
You know what's interesting about what you just said? 2 teams that never did titles or tank were Boston and Houston, right? Daryl has 2 superstars now, did not have a top 5 pick, had multiple chances to just throw the team away and didn't, and just try to collect assets and pounce.
Right.
Which is what Boston did. Boston did the Pierce Garnett trade, and it seemed like, oh, here we go. Do the Isaiah trade, which makes no sense, like in the big picture, whatever, but they were just like, he's an asset, let's get him.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're pretty good. And now
I'm pretty
that leads
skeptical
to
about the way Houston is constructed right now, though.
I am too.
Yeah.
But I think if we were running Houston, we would take it.
Sure.
Like, all right, I'll figure this out. Chris
That's
Paul
what
and
he's
James
thinking,
Harden.
right? He's like, this is what it takes. The only thing that I would say is that things change. And 7-8 years ago, we were talking this way about Golden State.
I would say a year ago, we were talking about whether markets mattered anymore.
Sure.
And
that's
it's
right.
like, remember that? It's like Durant doesn't matter where Durant plays. He plays OKC, he's got the number 1 shoe.
Yeah.
And now I think it's flipped again. And now you're looking at Golden State. The Lakers matter again. I think the Knicks are eventually going to matter again. Boston, Chicago eventually. And then the Texas, Florida teams with the no income tax. And those are just teams that have huge advantages.
I agree with you, but I don't think it's entirely financial. I think that we have gotten to the point, though, with this tanking and titles thing, that it's the reason why we're seeing talent clusters or super teams is because these guys are like a little bit more comfortable with the idea, like this whole, like, I have to win it on my own. And the only way we're going to determine whether Kevin Durant is better than LeBron James is if the Durant Thunder and the James Cavs went head to head and Durant bested him. Yeah. And that these asterisks that we have fixed, those are going away. They're fading. I don't think that in 3 years, if LeBron, Paul George, and I don't know who, like, and Brandon Ingram win a title in 3 years.
Lonzo.
Yeah.
And LeVar.
Are you going to just say, like, Paul George, are you going to put like, Paul George is going to feel the same way about doing that as he would have if, like, he got to the Eastern Conference Finals with Indiana in 5 years with Miles Turner.
Let's talk about our longtime buddies at Simply Safe.
Okay.
Getting a good night's sleep, easier said than done, especially when you think you just heard a noise downstairs. That's happening in LA, right?
I don't have it downstairs, but yeah.
Or like a
lot of weird noises outside.
Yeah. What is that noise?
Is that a coyote?
Yeah. What do you do in that situation? Turn on all the lights, keep watch, check your kids' beds every hour. You don't have kids. Sleep with one eye open, or rest easy knowing your home and family are protected with Simply Safe. When you install Simply Safe home security system, you're arming your home with powerful sensors that actually tell you if a door opens or if one of your windows breaks. Kevin Pritchard should have had this with Paul George. Should have Simply Safe in the Indy offices. 105 decibel siren that alerts you the first sign of trouble. A dedicated team of security professionals watching over you 24/7, ready to send the police with Simply Safe. No long-term contracts. Around-the-clock monitoring, only $14.99 a month. God, Kevin Pritchard, so close. Just $14.99 a month. Could have kept Paul George. Don't spend another night second-guessing your home safety. Get Simply Safe. Get some rest. Go to simplysafebs.com and get a special 10% discount when you order today. That's Simply Safe with 2 eyes. simplysafebs.com for 10% off your order. We got to run through some stuff quickly here. OKC.
Love it. I'm so excited.
Paul George, Westbrook, Patrick Patterson,
Pat.
a very smart signing, Steven Adams,
Yep.
and Robertson.
And Enes Kanter.
Just those 5. It's a pain in the ass team to play.
Yeah.
That's a like a bulldog, good defense. There's 3-point shooting.
Should I say right now? Can we just say right now that they are paying more for this team than they would have if they had just kept the original guys?
The James Harden Durant. Yeah. I mean,
just that's out of the way. So
I think Presti, I still think the James Harden trade was the worst trade of this decade, but did a nice job. The Paul George rental for a year. Let's see what they have. Let's make a run. Maybe we upset some guys. Like they now have a puncher's chance.
They're making the playoffs for sure.
They're making the playoffs. Who the hell knows?
Also,
once you
can't
get
they
there,
hold a Paul George auction in February if they want to?
That's the thing. And that's the part everybody missed with this trade. It's like, well, they're renting him. This is stupid. It's like, yeah, they're renting him, but he's a fucking asset. And in February, you might be able to flip him for more than Victor Oladipo and Sabonis. Like, if they got rid of Oladipo on July 1st or June 30th or whatever, just for expiring contracts, people would have been like, smart, salary cap space, good move by them. And instead, the expiring contract they got was Paul George.
Right.
Smart.
And the GM-less Cavs, if they get to February and it's like a weird bad season of back to people getting cut out of Instagram photos and griping about whether or not they're willing to pay to keep the team, would they do Love, who's still under contract, for Paul George?
Love's got to be bummed. He was in like 40 trade rumors.
Yeah,
that's not going well.
We're back at that point. We're back at the point where we were with the first Blatt season, where everybody's going to be a little bit uncomfortable with each other.
It's bad. I can feel him checking out during that finals too, as just like he knew he was going to be the fall guy. I got to say, this was the point that has not been made enough during this Paul George thing. I can't believe they didn't just take Kevin Love for him. If you're going to pay $20+ million a year for Oladipo and Sabonis, I'd much rather have Kevin Love.
But like the Cavs fired or got rid of their GM right before what there was
but they were trying to do 3-team trades to send Kevin Love to Denver.
Because they needed to they wanted to get the pick back.
Just take Kevin Love.
Right.
All right, we'll take him. We'll take a guy who averaged a 26-14 4 years ago and who has played big minutes in finals games and was badly misused and mismanaged in Cleveland. Like, look, we'll roll the dice with this guy. He might be one of the best offensive forwards in the league.
How much of a conspiracy theorist are you about this? Like, does it bother you? Like the idea that
there's no conspiracy. He didn't want to help Paul George win the title. Pritchard. I think this was. I will go to my grave thinking this was 100% a spite move, that they had this silent agreement, and then Paul George went public and said, they should trade me.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very candid press conference he did where he was like, this is a gut punch. This comes at the worst possible time, etc.
I think he was like, screw you. I'm not sending you to the Lakers. I'm not making you happy there. I'm not sending you to a team that might actually win the title.
That I'm going to have to see you 4 times a year.
Yeah, I'm not sending you to an Eastern Conference juggernaut like Boston, potentially. Go to OKC. You'll be a 6 seed. You'll win nothing. And now you're on your own. Screw you. I really feel like that's what happened. I think it was a trade made out of spite. And I think he made a mistake.
I just, at the end of the day, like whether that's the case or not, I think that I think that Ainge and the Cavs both have to be like, well, we could have had him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Ainge more than the Cavs.
Yeah.
Ainge, I just feel like and you could see it because right afterwards they're
do you
leaking
care
everybody.
about LeBron not recruiting for the Cavs at all?
Yeah, I think it matters. I think the two most under the radar fascinating things was that LeBron's clearly going to be a free agent in a year and made it clear to everybody I'm here for 1 year. And I think John Wall not accepting the Supermax was a fascinating wrinkle. Why not? 4 years, $168 million. Here it is. Sign. Are you going to be in Washington or not? Why didn't he accept it? If you know you're going to stay in Washington and you know that's your team and you're
Who's John Wall's agent?
Yeah, Rich Paul.
Yeah. Just
Clutch.
saying.
Yeah. I think that's a significant thing. And I don't know why that wasn't a bigger deal. Because he's on a team now with Beal and Porter and they're spending money and they're over the tax. Huh?
There's the Lakers point guard that you were wondering about.
So you'd have John Wall, Lonzo, LeBron, Paul George, Brandon Ingram.
I don't even know if you can get all those guys, but
I think you could if you get rid of the Mozgov deal. You use Randall to get rid of Mozgov in February.
They traded Mozgov. They got rid of
not
Deng.
Mozgov, Deng.
Deng.
Yeah. The Deng deal.
So they'll have like 80 next year.
So you think John Wall? You think it'd be a clutch team?
I'm just saying that there's that is in
the clutch all-stars.
Sure.
If I'm a Wizards
John
fan,
Wall wants to win a title. Like John Wall,
we're not positive he likes Beal either.
No, I think he does, and I think those guys like play really well together. But
you're positive?
I think he likes him. Like they seem much closer at the end of the year than they did at the beginning of the year for whatever.
If he likes Beal, why doesn't he want to stay with him?
Because
in
he
Chocolate
wants.
City.
He's obviously got a huge chip on his shoulder about a number of things. One is the fact that he thinks he's probably way better than the talent around him and that he should be competing for a title. And I love that about him. Like he is one of those guys where it's like when he gets on the court and he's playing against Steph, he's like, I'm better than Steph. Same thing that Westbrook
Not in the
has.
half court.
I love the way that he plays. I think that he's probably like, he really wanted Paul George to come to DC. I think he wanted that to happen, but there's nothing there. So now he's looking at his Supermax where it's like essentially the rest of his career will be in Washington. The best years of his career will be in Washington with Bradley Beal, which is like a pretty nice
sounds
backcourt.
great.
And that's it though.
And get Boogie in a year.
Well, then they should they should get themselves a GM who can really make some stuff happen.
If he's turning down $40 million a year guaranteed from DC on a team that almost made the conference finals just now, I'm alarmed if I'm a Washington fan.
Yeah,
I'm just flat out alarmed.
Yeah, and
like,
so
really?
and I'm
You
just
turn
saying
that
like
down?
between the two things of like John Wall not signing a max deal and LeBron being awfully quiet over this period of time, that just feels like.
Could you see Wall? See, I think Wall and Boogie are tight, and I wouldn't rule that out either. They're just going they go to like Atlanta,
right?
And just like let's start our own team in Atlanta. And Coach Cal is our coach GM.
Let's just have the
Kentucky
Kentucky All-Stars.
What the hell is Atlanta doing?
Atlanta, I don't even know who runs Atlanta now. Travis Schenck.
I think Atlanta
right?
did the worst job of anyone these last 2 summers. Because somehow they paid Bazemore and didn't pay anyone else. They paid like their sixth best guy.
Them and Portland were the two teams that I think were a little bit victims of what
Portland
of the cap explosion and then the contraction. Right?
O'Shea simultaneously was the worst guy of the last 15 months, but then made 2 awesome trades.
Right. He got Nurkic.
He got Nurkic for nothing and got a first-round pick out of it, and then somehow moved 15 and 20 to 10. He took the wrong guy, but that's fine. They still got Collins. It's better than being at 15 and 10. I think this whole cap thing, if I'm any team right now that has a chance to keep cap space and just cherry pick dudes like the Jay Crowder types that are going to start becoming available, that's where I want to be.
This is the biggest bummer of all this, by the way, is that we're back to talking about cap space.
No, oh yeah.
Just in general, like
we like this stuff though.
I don't mind it, but I didn't. I like this. I like the other parts about this
storylines.
I don't love the accounting as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's obviously something went wrong here. So many teams are going to be paying luxury tax just to keep their cores together. So that just seems like it's not working quite right.
Speaking of accounting, let's talk about the Watch podcast really quickly. You and Andy Greenwald, when did it start? 2011?
Yeah.
How many have you done, you think?
Since the Ringer started? 2 weeks?
No, since Grantland.
Oh, probably like 500. I mean, I've been doing it for years.
It's one of the signature pop culture podcasts out there, and your guys are about to hit your version of the playoffs. Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I thought I was done, but they pulled me back in.
Game of Thrones. You have a couple Game of Thrones things going on because we're doing this show for Twitter that we're super excited about. Last year we did After the Thrones on HBO. Watch the Thrones or After the Thrones?
After the Thrones. It was Watch the Thrones when it was at Grantland. After the Thrones in HBO.
And the problem with the HBO thing was because of all their satellite deal, all that stuff, it couldn't run till 26 hours after the show, which is weird. It would be like having the post-game show of an NBA playoff game happen 26 hours after the game.
Yeah.
It's just a weird way to do it. Now we're going to be on Twitter. We're pinned at the top of the Twitter feeds.
Talk the Thrones,
which we'll do a preview show, and then we'll have 7 during the 7-episode run. You and Andy Greenwald, your watch partner,
and Mallory
Rubin,
and Jason
Concepcion. Game of Thrones ends. Go on Twitter.
Boom. We'll be there.
We're off 45 minutes. I'm excited because I watch Game of Thrones. I don't know half the guys. I know half the ladies. I don't know what happened half the time. And I just want somebody to tell me what happened.
We're your team for that. We're gonna do it.
Is Mallory gonna be able to physically make it?
Yeah, Mal's replenishing herself. She's in Miami doing the blood platelet treatment.
Yeah,
she could do Tour de France.
She went to Italy.
No, she's coming back strong.
Okay, so because Mallory is doing the binge mode Game of Thrones, we have put up 5 seasons, and if you want to relive Game of Thrones and get ready
highly recommended podcast for me.
It's the deepest of the deep dives.
Yeah,
there's never been a deeper dive. This is like. What's that movie? 47 meters.
Yeah, this is the Abyss.
Oh, this is the Abyss.
Yeah, this is Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio.
Yeah, we're just in a cave way down there. Yeah. So anyway, so you can catch up on Game of Thrones on binge mode, and then The Watch with Chris and Andy. Andy's now like a famous TV person, but somehow still slums it for us and does podcasts. Yeah, he's like a real dude now. Clippers quickly.
Yes, I can't wait. What
they
the hell?
paid Blake 5 years, 175, which is just a Hail Mary. I say this as a Clipper season ticket holder who was having conversations with Tolan, who I shared tickets with, and we're like, we're screwed if they decide to blow it up. We've already paid for our tickets. This is gonna be a disaster. They go the other way. They overpay Blake, make him the face of the franchise. We have no idea if he can play 5 years. That's 410 games. What would you say the over under is? 260?
Yeah.
410?
Yeah.
What would you give me? 265. You go over under.
I would go over.
Go over 265.
I kind of like the idea of this team running through Blake. I can't wait to watch it.
I forget that because I agree with you on that. I'm just saying from a durability standpoint. You're betting your life. You're betting your life and Phoebe's life.
I'd probably go under.
265. You have to bet your life and Phoebe's life.
I'm not going to go over on a guy who has had multiple leg injuries.
And then Gallinari for 3 years, 65. I'm going to say a possible 246 games.
I can't believe they got the small forward they've needed for 5 years the week after Chris Paul leaves.
175 over under?
Oh, man, that's bullish. He just keeps pulling his knee out, right?
I'm going to say 160.
He has like a lot of those, like he has the ACL and then he'll have like all the other things that happen because of the ACL, right?
There's a sneaky case to be made that the Clippers are going to be terrible next year.
I can't wait to watch them. I think they're going to be. It's because it's either going to be
a fantasy
complete meltdown or it's going to be really fun. Because Point Blank is something I'm really excited for.
The whole ringer is on. Jarks wrote the piece a week ago. KOC's been on that for a while. I've been on that. You've been on it. We want to see an offense run through Blake. We love when it happens. We love him as point forward. The problem is he's not going to play until December at the earliest. He has a broken plate in his foot. So
yeah,
when they say NBA injury lying would be a fun video for us. We're like, he's back in December. It's 4 to 6 weeks, and it's always 8. It's back in December. That means February.
You should be careful here because I did Brad Stevens being like, he looks good.
Oh, Isaiah.
I'm not a doctor, but he looks
very
good.
Careful. I'm being very careful.
Yeah.
If he misses the first 2 months of the season, here's the thing with the Clippers, like you can look at all those names, but like I like that guy, I like that guy, I like that guy. There's no creator. There's no facilitator.
Yeah.
Patrick Beverley's not running the offense.
Right.
Austin Rivers ain't running the offense. He's probably the most shoot first guard. He probably averaged like an assist a game. And then who's the other guard they have? Did they sign anybody else yet?
I don't think so. That's why they're looking at Rose.
Like Derrick Rose.
Yeah.
And then all of their perimeter guys are all like, I need the ball. DeAndre, obviously. So it's like, if Blake's out for 2 months, I don't even know who runs their offense. It's not going to be Patrick Beverley.
You think they'll make the playoffs?
And then you have a lazy coach.
I love that he's still acquiring 2010 guys. Like, when was Gallo last great? When was it? Gallo was great on like the
Gallo-
2013 or 14
No, Gallo had
Nuggets team.
I bet it was monitoring because he was on the Celtics radar. His last 2 months were good.
Okay.
Last season, he was healthy. He looked like Gallo. He's 18 a game. He plays with fire. Like, we all like him when he's on the court.
Yeah.
I don't
The
think...
Rooster, man. I love Gallo. Like,
do you honestly think you could play DeAndre Blake and Gallo together at crunch time, though?
No.
So
This is not a well put together team, but it's going to be really fun to watch.
The Bill Simmons theory, which has been proven again and again, is your 4 highest paid guys, if you can't play all 4 of them together against the team you need to beat, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Now, Cleveland got out of that 2 years ago because they could play the 4 guys together.
Right.
Last year, they couldn't. They had to pick between Love and Thompson, so now you're screwed because you're spending 80% of your salary cap on these 4 guys and you can only play 3. I don't see how DeAndre Blake and... My gut is if they think Blake's healthy, they're going to flip DeAndre for something.
Yeah, that has to be. I mean, there's also
that's in play.
it remains to be seen whose team is this? Is this Doc's or Jerry's?
There's going to be a team, and this usually happens in football, but basketball, we don't see it as often. There's going to be a team in the West that we think is a playoff team that's going to be awful. And we're like, wow.
Okay, so
they're
who's
on
it going
pace
to be?
for 25 wins. I think the Clippers are the number 1 choice. I'm not predicting them, but I'm saying like between them, Minnesota, Oklahoma City,
right?
Portland? One of these teams.
You don't think there's a little? I think that they're probably just too good for this to happen. But you don't think that there's a little bit of a chance that it's going to take a really long time for Houston to get this together?
Harden's too good.
D'Antoni is a little bit like that Harden, 2-3 year like, and then guys are just like, what are you doing?
I like the PJ Tucker signing.
Yeah, I know it sucks that they're just so good.
They have pieces.
I keep forgetting that like they've signed like three other guys that are just really good. They brought Nene back.
They have 7 really good basketball players. Yeah. It's going to be hard for them to stink. I think
he's also just really good at finding scrap heap guys.
He'll find some second runner. I think a Clippers team that's built around Blake, who we have no idea when he's coming back.
Sure, they may not make the playoffs. Yeah, especially with like Denver with Millsap. Denver, I mean, Denver's got a good team, man. Like Jokic, Millsap, and Harris.
Let's talk about them.
Yeah, if Moutier could just hit the side of a barn, like they would be good.
So, what do we think their crunch time team is?
So they have like Chandler and all those guys are still like all the
Gary Harris,
right?
Jokic, Millsap. I don't even know if Barton's.
All right, so let's go. Gary Harris, Jokic,
but
Millsap.
Like Jameer Nelson played a lot of minutes for them last year,
right?
So who is their crunch time point guard is going to have to be Jamal Murray, who's not a point guard,
right?
They're going to have to run the offense through him and Harris. And
but the thing is if you got somebody who can pass like Jokic, do you need a pure point guard?
You don't.
But you just need a guy to bring the ball up the floor and hand it to him in the high post.
You need somebody who can handle the fast break, though. That's the thing. People like, yeah, you can run the half court through Jokic,
right? Moutier is actually pretty fun in the transition, but he just can't shoot.
Moutier is like 15. Is Moutier older than our interns?
Does Moutier like Bowie?
Is he older than Kyle? He's probably not, right?
I don't think so, no.
The thing I love about Millsap for Denver, and it was just the all-time under the radar, like nobody has an opinion on Paul Millsap. He's been the most boring star in the league for 10 years. But like when they had that 60-win team, the ball movement, he's such a smart offensive player and he's just malleable. And now you put him with Jokic. I think that's a really nice mix. Yes. I think that's going to work.
Yes, I agree. And I think Murray's going to have a big season next year. I think Harris is like becoming a really good two-way player.
All right, so
I think they're going to be good.
Let's go Denver, Minnesota, the Clippers, and
Portland?
No, because I think Portland's lower than all those teams.
Yeah, but Portland's always going to be in that zone.
Right. Okay. Denver, Minnesota, OKC, Clippers.
And New Orleans?
And Portland. And then New Orleans I'm out on.
Okay.
Which one of those teams could be the surprise 50 winner? 50 win team?
OKC.
OKC you're going.
OKC's going to kick ass next year.
Okay. That's
the surprise 50 win year is that one. Is Oklahoma City has a really, really good starting lineup.
I have some concerns. Do you want to hear them?
Yeah, of course. But the whole thing about OKC is it's either going to be like incredible success or they're going to see that it's not working. Russ still hasn't signed his deal and they're going to try and get what they can for George.
We had a really good first year at the Ringer, especially the last 2 months. We had like our best traffic months. Thanks to everybody who supported the site. It was just really awesome.
I feel like this involves me getting traded for draft picks.
we had a nice thing going, and you were kind of the shepherding the big picture coverage on the NBA side, much like Russ. Russ was shepherding the offense.
Fantasy just broke a pencil in his hand.
Well, fantasy's Sam Presti.
Oh God! Now he definitely broke 3 pencils.
All right, so let's say you and Fantasy together are Russ.
Okay, this is my favorite conversation I've ever had.
30 shots a game. You're the offense, run everything. Now all of a sudden, Paul George, the NBA idea, Paul George shows up.
Okay,
and we just have to shoehorn him in. And you guys are like, we have a good thing going. I'm used to shooting 30 times a game. I get to take every shot at the end. Now this guy's in every meeting.
No.
Got to work him in.
Look.
Wait, this guy has an idea for a theme week. I don't know. I like shooting 30 shots a game. I worry about a little bit of a...
Flip side to that.
Okay.
Russ just spent the first 5-6 years of his career, or whatever it was, with Durant, where it was essentially everybody knew Durant was the best player on the floor. Every night people were
Russ
like...
didn't know that.
Yeah. But
I think Russ felt the opposite.
George is going to come in and be like, hey, I need to get 30 shots a game. I think George is going to be a great off the ball player, an incredible defender.
I think George likes to get the ball in the last 2 minutes, though. I think he's one of those, he likes the hero ball YouTube clips.
Yeah. So that's going to be it. Hopefully, like, there will be
You
enough.
watched OKC next year. Everyone had to stand around and watch Russ on every play.
That's because he was the only good player they had last year.
My question is, did he develop too many bad habits last year to now be
Guys
like,
can change.
I got to worry about Paul?
I think he'll be fine. I think that if you were going to look for one shocker surprise 50-win team, I think it would be the Thunder.
I don't know if it would be a surprise.
But you were asking the surprise. So what would you say? Denver's the 50-win team? I don't think it's going to be the Clippers.
My 2 picks would be OKC or Denver. I think have a chance to hop it. I also think maybe because of that conference, it's going to be really tough to even compete at. So to go 50 and 32 in the West might be too hard.
I was just going to ask you about this. So the one of the weirder things that happened yesterday morning was the Kings rush on veterans. And
I've never been a George Hill guy. I just hate paying somebody $20 million a year who's not an all-star.
Okay, so
it's one of my rules.
Do you think that's good or bad for De'Aaron Fox that he's there?
I think he can play off the ball. I don't think he can play like 2 guard. I think it's fine. I would rather have Malik Monk.
I agree.
If I'm gonna pay George Hill $20 million a year to play these combo guard minutes, can I just have Malik Monk? And instead of trading down to 15
so what
and
do you
20,
think their over under for wins would be next year?
It's still a bad organization with a lot of weird pieces that haven't played together. I
kind of like them. I kind of like what they
Fox
have.
Fox is going to be super raw. Don't forget how raw Fox is going to be next year. I'm as big of a Fox fan as there is. He's not going to come in right away and be good.
They're just, if they were in the Eastern Conference, I think that they...
Remember John Wall that first year? He was just playing at 190 miles an hour, and that's going to be Fox.
Right.
Fox is going to be like a jet. Who else do they have? Let's go through it.
They have Fox, Scal, Willie Cauley, Buddy. So if Buddy could go up a level, that would help. They have
some
Giles
sort of go-to guy.
And
Giles,
Justin Jackson, who I think hurt his foot. No, that was Justin Pat.
Either of those guys. They feel like the 3rd worst team in the West to me.
And then they have Zebo and George Hill.
Getting Zebo about 3 years too late.
Yes.
George Hill, I'm not sure he could stay in the court.
Zebo reunited with Jaeger.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Maybe a little Tony Allen next for them? Is he free agent?
Oh, God. Grit and Grind West.
So the
Grit and Grind retirement home.
So the small picture. Oh, did you like what Toronto did? Because I guess they had to. They're locked into a 3 seed.
I think I agree with Kevin that they got everybody to come back. They lose Pat. Norman Powell played really well. Hopefully, if you're a Raptors fan, he gets better.
Just gets
and
the
then I just think
minutes.
that they're the same. They're almost in the same situation as not quite as Oklahoma City, but they have Masai, and assuming he doesn't go become the head of the Knicks, I just don't think that any of those guys there are. That doesn't mean that's going to be the team in 2018. They could trade guys.
Are they the 3 seed next year?
I think Washington's going to be better than them.
Okay. I would go Washington 3 seed, Milwaukee 4 seed, Toronto 5 seed.
You think Toronto? But Toronto had was incredible last season on offense.
I just feel like Giannis goes one more level up.
I don't love the Milwaukee vibes.
Here's the thing. If you're making a big picture bet on Giannis as a future MVP, this should be the season that he jumps. This should be his 48-win young MVP candidacy season. So, but you have to just be like, I believe in this guy. I think he's gonna be the MVP someday. The natural check mark that he's about to hit in his career should be this season, where he takes a team that's not that great and pulls them up.
Right.
That's the only reason. That's the case for them for 4. Yeah, right. He's 25, 9 and 9 and 8.
He really went.
He's first team
All-NBA. He took
a
jump last season. If I'm remembering this correctly, I'd have to look at it, but I feel like he emerged even more once Jabari went down.
Yeah,
as did Brogdon, I think too, a little bit.
I didn't like Brogdon in the playoffs. Now he's a rookie, so you can't judge it too much. But I thought he got a little exposed in the play. It's almost like you don't want to lean on him too much. He's an overqualified third guard, but if he's actually running the offense,
they need Thon to be good next year, and they need Jabari to
be healthy,
figure it out. Yeah. Okay.
Can Philly be a 6 seed?
I mean,
you like the Redick Amir Johnson moves? You know Amir Johnson's cooked, right?
Yeah, of course. Okay. I like them for they haven't had a consistent veteran presence there in a really long time. And at all, you know what I mean? So I think that JJ is great for 23.
I'm really interested to see what happens to him, because I didn't like the season he had last year. And I thought he was a defensive liability, and he did not jack up
luckily
enough
he's
threes.
In the Eastern Conference now. So
that's the thing. Yeah. I think they used him poorly.
Got to guard Elfrid Payton. Like, what's he?
Right. Well, I think they used him poorly, and I think the vibe on that team was really weird, and I think it affected him. I'm interested to see him on a team where they're like, JJ, you're shooting 8 threes a game.
Yeah.
We're running you around screens. Shoot the ball.
And he's got 2 good passers.
If you don't shoot 8 threes tonight, we're fining you.
I like that team a lot. I'm cautiously optimistic. I would love to get to the bottom half of the playoffs and have him be playing in May.
I don't want to have the Eastern Conference, Western Conference thing, because it's that conversation's annoying.
So you think that there's always going to be this pendulum that swings back? You don't think it would be?
I think there's smarter GMs in the West right now and smarter owners, and
it's been I feel like it's been a while we've been talking about this Western Conference.
What about when it was Miami and Boston and
Thibodeau's Bulls
and the Knicks and the Bulls? Like, there was a while where all of a sudden the East looked more loaded. I don't know. I think it's mostly like, last question. The Sixers fans.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little worried about you guys from a karma standpoint.
Okay. Thanks for your concern. Don't you worry about yourself for karma? You guys have been sitting in the catbird seat for a long time.
No.
Okay.
I don't, as long as LeBron's in the league, I don't ever feel like we're going to win the title until he's out of the conference.
So you feel like we're just too,
a little too celebratory.
I think it's fun.
I think it's fun, but I also think, like, you haven't won the process yet. The process hasn't won.
Nobody's won the process. It's just that this is like Colangelo actually like fulfilled what you want to have, as many great potential players at once and hope that one of them hits.
I don't think Kinky trades up for Fultz.
Oh, I disagree completely.
I think Kinky stays where he is and loves having that extra pick.
Nah. Come on, let's get it going.
The actual process is collect assets.
Not forever.
How do we know? He never. The architect of the process never told us what the outcome was supposed to be.
I'm very happy with what they're doing, and okay. I'm not. I don't think that. I think it's wrong to assume that just because people are excited that they got Fultz and think that the team is going to be really good, that means somehow they're like, we've won the sort of offseason title.
they did some social media stuff that was aggressive.
What, the retweet Armageddon?
Yeah, retweet Armageddon was a little aggressive.
That was really fun.
Okay. Yeah. Is it fun, or is there an edge to it?
There's no edge to it. It's just that there's 5 years of people being like, what a bunch of shitheads in Philadelphia. They don't like, they're just losing on purpose. And now we have 2 of the last number 1 draft picks, the best draft, possibly the best draft pick. The Embiid pick would have been number 1 if he had been healthy. You know what I mean? Like, we have like all this collection of talent. So I think people are saying this idea.
You threw away 4 years of basketball though to get there.
I know, but I feel
nobody cares.
I don't feel a day older.
Okay. And the Embiid thing, he's played 31 games in 3 years. That's not a concern.
Wouldn't you rather
I'm devil's advocating all of this.
Embiid as like the guy who flew too close to the sun? I would rather have him every day than Jabari.
So even that 4-week run when Embiid, we all lost our minds.
Yeah.
That made it worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the thing, is that like, I think that you got to have fun with this stuff, because otherwise you do get too caught up in the titles or tanking thing. So, and I know that the Sixers are just as guilty of that, and the Sixers fans are just as guilty of that, but I love, like, give me more of that. Give me more of like small victories. It's okay.
I will say, just selfishly, as somebody who loves watching basketball, especially on random nights at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night. I guess it would be 6 o'clock here. The Sixers have more players that I enjoy than just about any other roster. I like Saric. If you go back to the draft, like I fucking love Saric. I made some joke on during the draft about when they took him. I made some joke on the telecast about I fell in love with him at 3:30 in the morning on YouTube 10 days ago. I just like him. I think he's a good basketball player. Embiid is a delight.
Yes.
Fultz is going to be so much fun to watch.
Rocco is awesome.
Is that what we're calling him now? Rocco?
Rock and Rocco, both Bobby Covington. Yeah.
And then Ben Simmons is almost like...
Ben Simmons is my favorite kind of basketball player. Ben Simmons is the guy who sees the pass that no one else can see. There's like 5 guys in the league like that. That's why Jason Kidd was always amazing to watch.
Okay, and now this is somebody who I've been rooting against. My son owns his t-shirt. I want him to succeed. He has the same name as my son. I love Ben Simmons. I've made jokes about him for 3 years. All we have of him so far is this really dispiriting LSU season. And they didn't play at all last year. And we have no idea if he can shoot. I'm not positive what position he is.
He's small forward who's going to run the point.
He is the guy.
He's going to be absolutely electric in transition.
To me, the fear is like he's the Gretchen Mall Vanity Fair cover. Here's the next starlet. Here's the next starlet. It's like, wait, is that?
And then Ben Simmons is going to be on Boardwalk Empire 15 years later.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't believe this.
Okay, why did we thought he was the next guy? Are we sure? I just hope he's the one I'm worried about the most. I mean, obviously Embiid staying in the court is a problem.
Yeah.
But Ben Simmons, like, I like him. I see it. I see the potential of it. But man, if you're asking him to be a point forward, he's never played an NBA game. The offense is gonna run through him. I don't know. I have a lot of question marks about that.
You're acting like these guys do. Everybody does 3 years at Michigan State and passes some test to get into the NBA. Like he'll be good. He'll be good.
I hope
all
so.
These guys who are like he's easily the number 1 pick. They can't all be wrong. That's the same thing with Fultz. It's like
that's how I felt
right
last
up
year.
until the Fultz trade happened. Everybody was like, Fultz he's number 1. He's number 1. All this Josh Jackson crap is just BJ Armstrong or whoever making a lot of noise. And then it was like as soon as Fultz got traded, it was like, well, Fultz has bad body language. Fultz has never played a really competitive game.
All
Didn't
the
go to the
Celtics
tournament.
were like, Fultz is the best. All the Celtics people, Fultz is the best guy.
Yeah.
They bring him in for 2 days. They trade down a week later.
Okay.
I still don't understand what happened. I was ready. I watched all the YouTube clips. I had the jersey in the head. I was ready. I was ready for the Fultz era.
It's nice to hear you say that. The Sixers have a collection of guys that you want to watch 82 times a year.
I even like Rashawn Holmes. I like.
Yeah.
You probably have 7 guys that I genuinely like. Yeah, McConnell. You have 8 guys I like. Reddick.
Yeah.
Fun team. It'll be good.
Amir Johnson's vertical.
The Sixers fans, let us root with you. Don't turn it into a you against us.
Okay.
There's no us. There's no us. All of us want to watch a good basketball team. There's clear question marks, and I hope they pan out for you.
I appreciate that.
All right. Do you have a watch podcast this week?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Well, we have the watch this week is going to probably be about Baby Driver for the most part.
I still have not seen it. Do I have to like go out of my way to see it over the next 3 days?
Yeah, you'd enjoy it. You'd enjoy it. It's fun.
Okay.
It's a lot. It has like some like Point Break speed vibes, like 90s action thriller kind of vibes. Ham's really good in it. Jamie Foxx.
It made me sad that when Sam Donsky died in that tragic house fire, that it just would have been a great week for him.
It would have. So the thing about Baby Driver that's
R.I.P. Donsky,
been
by the way.
intense is that it is a movie that has been out for 5 days and it's already gone through the life cycle of an Oscar movie in terms of it being like
There's backlash
a masterpiece or a complete piece of shit. So I'm not even sure.
It's the worst.
It's actually like I don't even know what I think of Baby Driver anymore. I'm that susceptible to all these swings.
It's the Ben Simmons of movies.
Yeah.
You don't know. There's so many people in your head at this point.
I know.
The internet's the worst. Doesn't it bother you that our lives revolve around putting up an internet site when the internet's also the worst?
Then there's like moments like the way people started talking about Shams Charania over on Twitter over the weekend, where it was just like guys changing their Twitter names to Shams Goat, and just every time any NBA news happened, it was just 700 memes of Shams dunking on Woj. That makes it all worth it.
I'm glad you brought that up because I meant to mention that. They paid all this money for Woj. They lay off all these people, and he's supposed to get every scoop. And then Shams, his protege, got half the scoops.
Yeah. He's like,
If you're ESPN, you're like, I thought we were getting all the scoops. We just paid for all the scoops. Why aren't we getting all the scoops?
I would have paid $800 to get a live stream of Shams, and like, what's Shams' day like? You know what I mean? When Shams is like on a Saturday or on Sunday or whatever, and he's just got 9 phones. He's got 35 like people on hold.
Would you be, on a scale of 1 to 10, how shocked would you be if it turned out Shams was an automated program and not a human being? And they pick some photo and he doesn't exist.
He's Agent Smith.
He's Woj created some scoop program.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, all the data and Yahoo owns.
Nothing would surprise me anymore.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much to Simply Safe. Getting a good night's sleep, easier said than done, especially when you think you just heard a noise downstairs. Rest easy, knowing your home and family are protected with Simply Safe. Arm your home with powerful sensors that actually tell you if a door opens or if a window breaks. Don't spend another night second guessing your home safety. Go to simplysafebs.com. Get a special 10% discount with your order today. That is Simply Safe with 2 eyes. Also, thanks to Hotel Tonight, the app that helps you find amazing deals at the last minute for hotels up to 7 days in advance. Perfect for a spontaneous getaway or indulging in a little staycation. Download the Hotel Tonight app. Chris Ryan, Hotel Tonight helped you guys.
Loved it.
Helped you big time with
Vegas,
Vegas.
baby, Vegas.
Vegas. Hey, man, if you want to go to Summer League last minute, go to Hotel Tonight. They have all the deals there. Thanks so much to Miller Lite. Thanks so much to SeatGeek, our presenting sponsor. Thanks so much to Nephew Kyle.
Go listen to some Bowie, Kyle.
Still
start with Hunky Dory, make your way through it.
Yeah. That's it. We're coming back on Friday with one more BS pod. Did anything happen in basketball, by the way, since we were doing this? No breaking, right? Nobody got traded?
There's been no updates to our NBA Slack.
Nothing? Nobody did anything? All right, good. All right. We are wrapping this up at 10:53 West Coast time. So if anything happened, don't blame us. Thanks for listening. Talk to you on Friday on the BS Podcast.